Welcome, everybody. Today, we are going to be talking about 10 ways to start a conversation at an expo or an industry conference. I am Julie Cortez, accompanied here by my colleague, Justin Aquino. And hello, welcome. Thanks for coming on today.
Absolutely. My pleasure.
So I feel like this is something that everybody can utilize, some sort of skill set, and I just kind of like to generalize it into networking as a whole. No matter where you are at an expo, a conference, or any sort of networking event, it could be a happy hour, a coffee meetup, what have you. I feel like, sometimes people get hesitant to go to these things because they don't realize what the biggest benefit is. Sure, of course you want to go to learn things or get educated on things, but I feel like the biggest benefit of them all is in meeting people. Because a lot of doing business, whether you're full-time, working for a company or such, or you run your own business, a lot of it is just all in who you know, right? Relationships are everything. And so you really want to start establishing those early on and continue growing your network throughout. So Justin, I want to go through kind of the steps to plan ahead. What do you do before the event, during the event, after the event, those kind of things, and really kind of hone in on at the event, of course, and the conversation starters that we can talk about there. So if you were going to be going to an event like this, what steps would you take to prepare in advance?
Yeah. I'm glad you mentioned before the event, because a lot of times what happens is people get so caught up in the moment, what to say or how to initiate the conversation. And we neglect to remember that a lot of preparation beforehand makes a big difference. So if you are researching the event and you're researching the attendees or the exhibits or the sponsors or the speakers that are going to be there, that goes a long way to helping you feel more prepared and to be able to strike up conversations more naturally and organically. So that's a big thing right there, is just to research social media. Look on the website of the event, look at who's going to be attending, what companies, what brands, and then think about, for those sponsors or those brands, what are the major goals or the major priorities that they're probably going to have, especially if it's relevant to your business or if it's relevant to your company. And that creates a lot of easier openings for conversation.
Yeah, I think that's a great point to just kind of check everything out ahead of time, especially for anybody who may be hesitant to go to something like this. See who all is going to be in attendance and who you want to talk to. Like maybe you can target people in advance as well. I think that would be super helpful. And, maybe there's something going on in your particular industry and you kind of want to be up to date on that particular newsworthy item. So if it happens to come up in conversation, you can sound like you know what you're talking about, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So all good things. I think too that, setting a goal ahead of time as to how many people you want to talk to, it's not necessarily a numbers game. It's not how many people you can meet, but the quality of people that you can meet. So say you go to an event and there's 200 people there. It's not like you want to make a goal of meeting 25, 50 people. That's way too many. You can't establish quality relationships if you talk to that many people. So I would set a goal, of maybe 3 to 5 people at this event to really talk to somebody, have a quality conversation with them, exchange contact information, and I think it's going to be, it's going to do you well. Yeah. And then, of course, before you go in, if you are feeling hesitant, just take a deep breath. Remind yourself that everybody's in the same boat. Everybody's there to connect with new people, so it's not just you whatsoever.
Yeah, as far as the mindset aspect, the nervousness or the hesitation that some people might have, many people have in these situations, there's the sense of awkwardness, a sense of, I don't know how to approach somebody. I'm not sure if I am bothering them or something like that. A very simple mental trick that I discovered a long time ago was just flip it around. Suppose someone was approaching you with the same conversation topic or the same energy or the same kind of theme that you're approaching the other person. And that helps you to normalize things and get a sense of what would be effective or what would be welcomed versus what would be more awkward or less comfortable or less interesting. So I ask this question to my clients and students all the time when I'm kind of coaching them and encouraging them to network with people in their industry on social media or whatever. A lot of times they ask, well, I don't want to bother people. What value do I have to offer? I just flip it around. I say, what if someone more junior, new to the industry, was reaching out to you on LinkedIn? And they say, hey, I just discovered you on LinkedIn. I was wondering if I could ask you a few questions about your job. I'm just entering this field, blah, blah, blah. Would you feel negatively towards that person? Would you say, what a loser? Why is this person talking to me on LinkedIn? No, you would probably have a positive disposition towards that person. So that is good for a reality check whenever you get very hesitant or self-conscious.
Yeah, excellent point. I think too, there's more to it than just mindset. Of course, mindset is a big component of it, but I like to tell my students and my coaching clients as well, like come to the table with, I know it's going to sound cheesy, but come to the table or to the events with a networking toolkit. And in this toolkit, you will have all the preparation that you've done before, if you did any research ahead of time. Business cards, always take business cards to these events. Again, you don't need 50 of them, but maybe 5 to 10 would be a good quantity to have on hand. Think even, about your handshake, think about eye contact, your smile, think about these physical attributes that can really make or break this event for you. And then last but not least, don't forget to bring mints or gum. Because how often are we at one of these events and maybe it's a coffee meetup and then you have coffee breath and you're like, oh, I don't want to talk to you because I'm embarrassed, right? Or a happy hour and there's appetizers that have garlic or onions in it.
Yeah,
right?
I don't know why they do that.
Right, because it's delicious.
If it's an enclosed situation, especially like in these New York City networking events, it's always like a tiny location. Everybody's on top of each other. And then they're serving these, really heavy garlic, hors d'oeuvres or whatever.
Uh-huh.
So
yeah, well, okay, so that's my tip for you guys. That'll be $10. But bring gum, bring mints, do whatever you've got to do to make sure that you are prepared and that you're feeling as confident as you possibly can. Let's move on to actually being at the event, right? Whether it is an expo or a conference or some sort of networking event, I feel like you will do yourself a favor if you go up to somebody and start a conversation. And they'll appreciate the company too. So some things that I like to do is to kind of scan the room and see if I know anybody and walk up to them and maybe see if I can get into their circle or their conversation. But if there's not anybody there that you happen to know in the room, find the loner, find the person who's standing or sitting off to the side, who doesn't know anybody, and your company will be so welcome. Mm-hmm. So welcome. You can join somebody at a table. If they're eating, you could be like, hey, is this seat taken? And then boom, instantly you've already created a bond. I don't know anybody. Do you know anybody? Right? Hey, my name's Joe. Nice to meet you. And you strike up an instant conversation. This can happen whether you're at a table or at a bar or at a buffet line or even at an expo and you're looking at, something in a booth or at a table. It's always one of those things too. Well, you don't know what you don't know walking into it, right? You don't know if this person's going to be super exciting and have a lot of great things to share, or would be interested in what you have to share, or if it's going to be a dud, right? So give yourself permission to excuse yourself if need be and move on. Oh, I need to go grab another drink. Is there anything I can get you? Great. Okay. See you later. Have a great time. Or the bathroom is a wonderful excuse. Everybody's got to go to the bathroom, but it's a great way to get out of a conversation that you don't necessarily want to be in at the time. Justin, what do you find that you end up doing if you walk into a room that you don't know anybody at?
So all great points, first of all. And yes, giving yourself an out, like you mentioned, is very important because a lot of times, a lot of the hesitation that people have in approaching new people is like the fear of the unknown.
Mhm.
right? It's like, oh, where's this conversation going to go? So when you give yourself that out and you say, if it doesn't go anywhere in the next few minutes, I can just leave. And here's my plan for gracefully exiting the conversation. That actually gives you psychological security. So you're more likely to take action to initiate the conversation. So that's a great point. I'll tell you one tip that I found works really well, and it's very simple. You're at the event, you're looking around, you see an exhibit or you see someone with a lanyard with some logo on it or something. You're kind of curious to start a conversation. You don't necessarily know how to initiate it just yet. Take out your phone and do some quick Google searching or quick research on that company. Whatever company it is that they're associated with. What's maybe a recent piece of news of that company? Where are they located? So like if the event is happening in Kansas City, for example, and you see that person probably flew in from Chicago, you could mention that. Hey, I saw that you guys are based in Chicago. Did you fly in? Did you take the train? How was the trip in here? Right? It's an easy way to start a conversation right there. So just do a little bit of reconnaissance on your phone right before you approach the person. Very simple but very powerful way to create a more interesting and more personalized conversation right from the get-go.
I really like that idea, and it's not that you're being antisocial. I mean, you're just being smart about things. And you can even step out into the lobby to do this if need be once you glance over at their name tag and
Right.
so you can research the company. I like that. Now, I know a lot of people are like, okay, great. Now I've spotted a person that I want to talk to. How do I make my grand entrance? And, these conversation starters, you really don't have to overthink them. They don't have to be difficult. I want to start first with things to stay away from because for whatever reason, they should just be no brainers. But, I would just say, kind of similar to being at a dinner party or whatever, don't talk politics, sex, religion. Like, stay away from those things. Try and go towards more generic, lighthearted, conversation like the weather or news that's happening or I don't know, movies, right? Sports, something easy like that to kind of go to. And I think starting off with just an easy conversation starter like that, that is generic. It's not necessarily industry specific. It's not job specific. You're just kind of testing the waters, kind of easing into it.
Mhm.
Justin, have you found something like this to be easy as well?
Yeah, exactly. So I always recommend people to have just kind of basic universal topics that could apply to anybody, like the weather, traffic, sports, that type of thing. Those are always available, just as fundamental boilerplate. If you're really struggling for something to talk about, those are your foundational topics that 99% of people will be able to chat about. And then you have specific topics related to your industry or the common industry that you share with the person, right? So industry news, recent developments. I do recommend that you do some research and catch up on recent news and developments in your field so that you have a little bit more to talk about with people. And this is not just for initiating the conversation, but also for maintaining the conversation. So a lot of times there's that awkward silence or that gap in the conversation that happens. Things kind of die down. That's when you can bring in a new topic to keep the conversation rolling, if you have that knowledge and that information ready at hand. So so whether it's universal common topics or whether it's industry specific or company specific to your company, to the other person's company, those are things that you can prepare and plan roughly for in advance. So you'll feel a lot more ready to go.
I feel too that if you're at a conference in particular, like some easy icebreakers would just kind of be like, oh, what are you enjoying about the conference? Or what sessions have you really enjoyed? Oh, I saw that so-and-so is speaking. Are you planning on going to that? They look really cool, or the subject matter sounds really interesting. Just simple things like that to just kind of get the conversation flowing. Again, it's not really anything that you've got to overthink whatsoever. It should come across as natural or as natural as you can, right? It could even be, you could bring up the event location, right? Or the venue. Like, oh, I really like this part of town, or I love this venue. This is awesome. Or even the organization or the company that's hosting the event. right? Oh, have you been to anything that they've put on before? Or is this brand new to you? How did you hear about the event? How, are you a member of such and such organization? All of those things, pretty generic, going into things.
Right.
Even, what did you think about that session? What did you think about the speaker? Have you been to these events before?
Yep.
Again, just very, very generic. And
I
just,
call it I call it situational topics.
yeah,
Things that are
perfect.
tied to the specific situation. There's music, or there's a bar, there's a food court, there's speakers, anything in the situation immediately. Suppose you haven't done any preparation or any research beforehand. Yeah, nevertheless, there's stuff happening in the environment. Maybe there's a really interesting product demo in one of the pavilions, for example. Maybe you saw some really interesting information shared by one of the exhibitors or one of the sponsors, and that's a topic to bring up with somebody, right? So anything in the situation or the immediate environment is an easy, low-hanging fruit that you can use to have conversations.
Yeah, all really good. I would think too, if you find yourself doing most of the speaking and you really want to engage the other person, ask open-ended questions. Ask the who, what, where, when, why kind of things, and so it's not just a yes or no answer that they have to give, because honestly, the more the other person talks, the more that they're going to think that you're an excellent listener. They're going to think you're an excellent conversationalist, right? So, and if you're on the shy side of things or the introverted side of things, this is great. All you have to do is come in with a few key questions and boom, off you go. Just be a great listener and you've got it down.
Yep, exactly.
So I think too, especially when you're at a conference, like, or at an expo or at a trade show, right? And maybe you're in a booth or you're behind a table, that can be a little bit intimidating as well. You can still talk about some of these things, but if you can get out of the booth, if you can come around the table, I think that helps, and then, just again, it doesn't have to be product specific or company specific. It could be about the conference in general, just to kind of get them to be more comfortable, and then switch things up. And instead of talking about yourself, ask them about their business or what their role is, right?
Absolutely. I say make yourself available to be approached, or make yourself discoverable, right? So when you're standing behind the exhibit table, that's like a security blanket for you. You feel protected. So get out from behind your protective shield, make yourself available so that it's easier for people to walk up to you. And part of that is your body language, having open body language. You don't want to be standing around like a security guard with your arms crossed or whatever. Open body language, make eye contact with people, smile, say hi. Maybe you just say, hi, how are you? And the person keeps walking, just a simple greeting. But just that little bit of friendliness can induce the other person to initiate something with you, because it sends a signal to them that, hey, I'm available. I'm open to chatting with people, because not everybody is open to chatting, right? Some people are just in their little world, with blinders on, and that's fine. But you want to send the signal to the room that you're open, because people won't necessarily assume that. So physical location, where are you physically placing yourself? Are you placing yourself in a side area of the venue where it's harder for people to approach you and to discover you? Or are you placing yourself physically in a more high traffic area, right, where it's easier for people to discover you? And thereby, so a lot of times, you don't have to initiate the conversation per se. You just have to make yourself available for other people to initiate.
I think you bring up an excellent point when it comes to body language. How often do we go to these events and you see some negative Nelly standing in the corner, their arms are crossed, like, I don't want to be here. They just have this scowl on their face and you're like, well, gosh, I don't want to talk to you. You don't look any fun, right? So I think it's very important to pay attention to your own body language, but also that of others. If you find that, somebody is closed off like this, then they're guarded for whatever reason, or they don't want to be there. Now, I say that with a caveat, because oftentimes I go to these places and they're freezing. They're absolutely freezing. And I find myself crossing my arms. And so I'll tell you what I do is just, if I find myself doing that, I'm so cold, I just kind of rub real quick, to show them it's not that I'm bored or standoffish, I'm freezing, right? And that's what that is. But crossed arms, hands in pockets, all of those things can be real turnoffs on a subconscious level, right? So watch what your arms are doing, don't have the two-fisted stand there like I'm overly confident either, and another tip that I've heard is pay attention to which direction your feet are facing, or the person who you're talking to, which direction they're facing. Because if they're facing the door, then you're obviously not interested in the person in front of you, or vice versa, right? Let's say you're waiting for a friend to show up, and therefore, again, subconsciously, your feet are facing the door like, hey, I'm waiting for Justin to show up. I'm really not interested in this conversation. You can learn a lot about people by just paying attention to their body language. So if you kind of feel like you're getting, the blow off, again, there's no harm in excusing yourself. Go find somebody else who is interested in talking to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. These subtle subconscious signals, we're constantly sending and we're constantly receiving, and we're pinging off of other people. So it's good to be aware, and a lot of times it's unintentional. Right. And so it's good to kind of just check in with yourself periodically, like, wait a second, am I being a little too standoffish here unintentionally? Let me adjust my body language. Let me adjust my positioning a little bit. Another very simple tactic, but very effective, create a situation that is attractive and high energy around yourself with other people. So if you have colleagues or team members or friends that you're attending the conference with, select a few people that are charismatic, fun, have a great attitude, and get in that conversation, get in that group, get that group together. And that's going to attract other people towards your group, because you're going to be laughing, joking around, having a good time. You have fun energy. People will pick up on that, like, oh, those people seem friendly. Those people seem like they're having a good time. So people will gradually migrate more and more towards that group. And again, it's getting other people, inducing other people to initiate a conversation with you or your group. So you don't have to be the Lone Ranger. Sometimes this can be a team effort as well.
Right. That's an excellent point. And again, what a great way to get yourself into a group. If you see there's a group of people talking, and of course, that's always intimidating to walk up being the loner, but gosh, you could just come in and go, wow, you guys look like you're having a lot of fun. Mind if I join? And an easy way to slip into their conversation and slip into their group. Nobody's going to tell you no.
You could join another group. If you're solo, you could join that group. Mm-hmm. Or if you're coming like with your company or your team, and everybody in your team, so there's like 5 of you at the event, maybe there's like 3 people that you can connect with, that you can kind of create a squad with, right? Yeah. From your company, and then that creates a really fun dynamic as well.
I love that idea. One thing that we didn't mention is, another part of the preparation aspect and at the event, but is the elevator speech. Right? So if somebody comes up to you, you get into this conversation, and then it naturally flows into the old, hey, what do you do? You're prepared for this, because you don't want to just answer with like, oh, I'm a graphic designer, or I'm a corporate communications manager, or whatever it is that you do. You want to be prepared with something that's like 30 to 60 seconds long, right? The time that it would take you to go up an elevator, that explains who you are, what you do for whom, how you help them, maybe something unique about yourself, just something that shows your passion. But there's a really great way to craft one of these, in advance. You want to start with some sort of attention grabbing hook. You want something that highlights what makes you unique or different. And again, show your enthusiasm throughout. At the end of giving your elevator speech, you always want to close with some sort of call to action. Now, if this is the first time anybody in the group has said, tell me about what you do, or what do you do, then of course the natural last line you're going to give is going to be like, okay, now it's your turn. You tell me, what it is that you do. But if you're the last one to go, then be like, I would love to connect with you. This seems like a really good fit. Do you mind if we exchange cards? Or do you mind if we connect on LinkedIn? Whatever the next step is, just something to close with. Do you use this technique as well, Justin?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I coach people all the time on their personal pitch. right? And the key career highlights are a major thing that we always emphasize. You know, one of my clients, he's an SEO expert. He has delivered, when we sat down and I asked him, like, how much total value have you delivered to your clients over the years? And he thought about it. He had never really thought about that question before. He said, probably over $8 million over the years. I'm like, you better include that in your personal pitch, right? When you're giving a speech or a presentation, 30-second intro, mention like, I have generated over $8 million in value for my clients over the last 5 years or something. Very simple, very powerful little data point there. So that's it. Crafting a great personal pitch or personal intro takes some time. It doesn't just happen by accident. It's a very intentional process.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I would write it out ahead of time. I would read it aloud several times, try to start memorizing it, but don't get it to a point where it sounds like you're, just saying something that's memorized. You want it to come across as natural as possible. So you may end up, ad-libbing throughout, and that's totally fine. It's probably going to vary depending on where you are, whom you're with, and how much time you have to deliver it. So
Yeah.
keep all of that in mind. Now I see we're running out of time here, but one thing I want to make sure we hit on real quick before we close out is, what do you do if you're introverted? Because there are so many people out there who are introverted, and this stuff is really, really intimidating to them. So, I would just say, it is one of those necessities. Like, you've got to go to these events, whether you like it or not. But there are things that you can do to make it easier for you if you happen to be an introvert, such as if you set a goal to meet 5 people there, as an extrovert would, then maybe you don't put that much pressure on yourself and you only set a goal to meet 3 people.
Mm-hmm.
You may even give yourself permission to leave early. Let's say the event goes for 2 hours. Well, you can say, okay, well, I can leave at 1 hour. That's good enough for me. Or if I'm having a good time, I'll stay until an hour and a half. No big deal. Another thing that you can do is just kind of step outside of the event or the gathering to recharge your batteries. Go to the lobby, go to your car, go to the restroom, whatever, just to recharge your batteries for a few minutes. Take some time for yourself to relax, and then you can get back in there and go and achieve the goals that you set out to achieve when you walked in ahead of time.
Yeah, exactly. I'm an introvert myself, so I can speak to all the effectiveness of all of those techniques. So 100% agree. I also think it's very, very valuable to look at the structure of the situation. So this is funny as an introvert, but back in New York for about a year, I hosted a monthly networking event in Midtown Manhattan. And we would get typically anywhere from 30 to 60 people attending every month, our event. And it was open to people of all industries, just a general networking event. I would reserve a bar in Midtown, a space in a bar, and then people would attend. And why was that effective? Well, first of all, I don't have to necessarily call people up and ask them to come to my event. I can just blast it out on the internet. I can create a free Eventbrite event, right? Those are things I can do solo. So it doesn't require social energy, which is oftentimes draining for introverts. And then as the host of the event, I ended up meeting everybody because everybody, when they came to check in to arrive at the event, ended up chatting with me. So just by creating a structure and a situation where people naturally would strike up conversations with me, I ended up meeting way more people and connecting with way more people than I otherwise would have. If you have an opportunity to speak or to present at the conference, that's a great opportunity as well. Ironically, a lot of introverts find it easier to speak on stage than to deal with people one-on-one in a conversational context. But if you give a speech, then afterwards you can hang around for Q&A and people can approach you and start conversations, and you can build a lot of relationships just by doing that as well. So, thinking creatively about the setup and the structure to create those opportunities is something that is really beneficial.
Excellent point. And I'm glad you could speak to that, because obviously I am full-blown extrovert here. So I look at these events like, hey, party, let's go. And they don't intimidate me at all. That's where I get my energy from. But I am certainly empathetic to those who are on the introverted side. I work with a lot of introverts. So any tips that I can help share to help make the situation less intimidating, I'm all for it.
Absolutely.
So we are out of time, folks. Thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you found this beneficial on different ways to start a conversation at expos or industry conferences. Until next time, I'm Julie Cortez with my bud Justin Aquino here, and we will catch you on the flip side.
Take care. Good to see you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.